What's up, metalheads, and welcome to the first interview of 2026. Today I'm joined by PJ Farley, bassist of Trixter, a band that helped define the early 90s hard rock scene. PJ has also been a part of and worked with a range of great artists and projects over the years, including Lita Ford, Eric Martin, Fozzy, and more. In this interview, we talk about Trixter's early rise, touring in the early 90s with bands like Poison and Scorpions, stories from the Blood, Sweat and Beers tour, and what time was really like in the 80s. We also dive into PJ's personal journeys to classic Trixter stories, and talk about Trixter's first ever tour in Australia. Huge thanks to PJ for coming on the show. If you're new to the channel and podcast, make sure to give it a like and a follow and share it to your friends, and I hope you enjoy the interview. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we have a very special guest, PJ. How you doing, man?
Good, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. So, first of all, I want to bring up, you're coming to Australia, finally, with Trixter.
Yeah, finally. It took long enough, right?
Yeah. So what are you expecting from these shows and the crowd?
I have no idea, being that we've never been there. It's kind of foreign for us, but I mean, Trixter is always a US based band. I mean, we finally got to the UK last year for the first time, and we did like Italy, and that's about it. We haven't really ventured off too much. We've been in Japan. I don't know why we couldn't tie in Australia back then, but hey, we're coming now, so
Exactly.
looking forward to it.
30 plus years later.
Good time. I was there. Yeah, I mean, I was there with Fozzy a couple years ago, and I just fell in love with this beautiful air, and so I'm just looking to have a good time, enjoy the sights, and some good rock and roll.
Yeah, and you're not coming by yourselves. You're bringing a couple of friends, Stevie Rochelle from Tough and Lorraine Lewis. Mm-hmm. Have you toured with those guys before?
We've done shows, not so much tour, but yeah, we wind up on the same bill every once in a while.
That's awesome.
They're good old friends of ours.
And you're doing 3 shows here, one in Melbourne, Sydney, and Adelaide or Brisbane?
Brisbane.
Yeah. So, like you said, you've been here with Fozzy, so you know what the crowds are like and the energy is. Yeah. Does this tour almost feel like a celebration of the 80s and early 90s? Because we've got 3 massive 80s bands that were a big influence. Yeah.
Yeah, it totally does. I mean, we've been doing this thing that we named the Spirit of 1989 tour, which we did about 4 runs over the last 2 years with Enough's Enough and Pretty Boy Floyd, and kind of trying to make an event of it. So we have a good package with this. This is kind of like the Spirit of 1989 Australia tour. So there's definitely a theme, and we're definitely hitting a certain genre, if you will. Yeah,
I've seen other interviews. You're big influence on Kiss, Van Halen, a lot of the late 70s and early 80s bands. Was there any Australian bands like Rose Tattoo, AC/DC that influenced you as well?
Where AC/DC was a huge part of my musical landscape. Still is. But yeah, no, that's one of the top 5 staples in my book.
Is there anything else you want to do here, man, besides playing the shows and sightseeing? Is there something you've always wanted to do in Australia?
Yeah, actually, I didn't really get to do much when I was there with Fozzy. So yeah, like to just do maybe fight a couple of kangaroos, shadow box with kangaroo. Although that is definitely just a joke, because I know I will get my ass kicked. Hopefully maybe hit one of the zoos, and it's kind of the typical stuff, being that I don't get there often, so I want to see as much as I can.
Will this be Trixter's first and last time, or are you guys planning to come back maybe in the future if possible?
We're up for anything and everything, so hopefully the reception is good, hopefully the attendance is good, and the demand is enough to have us back. So this is definitely the maiden voyage for us, so keeping the fingers crossed.
Is there any other countries you go into this year that you've never played before besides Australia?
Not that we know of yet.
And
we want to get back. We want to get back to Japan. We would have liked to tie it in somehow with this trip, but hasn't come together. So, but we'll make it back there at some point.
Is there any reason why you didn't come back when you were at your peak, would you say, in the early 90s?
Yeah, we were so busy in the States. I mean, the label just kept us nonstop touring. I mean, that's why we didn't even get to the UK until last year. I mean, we didn't go. I mean, that's crazy. A band that was as popular as we were back then, we did not go overseas at all. Like I said, we went to Japan at the tail end, and that was it. One time.
Hmm.
So it was just the label trying to make the most of it in the States.
And speaking of tours, you were very young when you came into Trixter. You got your gold plaque, as it's right behind you there, at a young age. Congrats on that, by the way. And you've toured with a lot of bands when you guys were younger. Supported like Scorpions and Poison. What did you learn from those bands? They've had a bit more experience in the touring and playing shows live. So what did you learn from those guys?
Um, well, we learned how to be classy because we got really lucky. Everyone we toured with was just really nice to us. And we heard war stories about, being the opening act and, kind of getting shit on. And we didn't run into that at all. We were really surprised by that. Poison opened us, welcomed us with open arms. They're so cool to us. And we went to, Scorpions, which, for such a big act like that, I mean, they were just awesome to us. And Warren, every band we toured with was just awesome to us. So we really kind of took that, as a lesson to anytime we had bands supporting us, try to be as accommodating and don't be a dick, so to speak, and just kind of pass on some wisdom if you could, and be happy to be there, just like we always are.
You mentioned Warrant. I know that you did the Blood, Sweat, and Beers tour, I believe, with Warrant, Firehouse, and of course Trickster. Um, having those three big bands, especially when the grunge was coming in, kind of, how important was that? Was that kind of trying to keep the scene alive, and you could say?
During the Warren tour,
Yeah, the Blood, Sweat, and
yeah,
Beers tour.
the Warren tour was um, still in under the radar because I mean, grunge didn't really start coming until the tail end of that
Okay.
tour. Alice in Chains and Nirvana was hitting, but um, no, we weren't really being affected by it because that tour was really successful. Um, so we were kind of in our bubble that whole time. It wasn't really until after we finished making our second record when we realized definitely getting different out there. And then once we got on tour for our second record, we're like, yeah, it's cold out here for us.
And that initial reaction when it started getting a bit colder, how did that make you guys feel? What did you guys do or try to get that, fans back into the scene?
We always kind of, as I like to say, we always knew there was a trap door in Cloud Nine, and we always joked that it's not going to last forever, so just enjoy it while you can. And we always had that kind of um, good head on our shoulders, kind of almost knowing the day was going to come or could come at some point. So when it did, we were like, yeah, it kind of happened a little bit quicker than we thought. But you know, we just said, all right, well, where do we go from here? And then we just kind of branched off, started doing other things.
And then you and Steve were in a cover band, and the other guys went in to do their own things. And then you bring Trickster back for in 2007.
Yeah, 2008, I
Yep.
think it was. Yeah, I mean, after Trixter kind of folded, Steve and I continued to write, make music, and had band after band, and we're getting really close to getting the record deals, and it just we'd never finish the deal. Really, we get in the offices and deal memos, but nothing ever signed. And yeah, then we were doing cover bands just to kind of keep money coming in and allowing us to keep an open schedule and be creative during the day and whatnot. And then we put Trixter back together in 2008, and just kind of really rejuvenated us. And we could have put it back together a lot earlier, And we were kind of encouraged to do that, but I don't think any of us were in the headspace for it yet, um, because it was a resurgence years before we put it back together. There's plenty of Rocks Never Stops tours with Rat and Warrant, you know, LA Guns and all those bands and Poison. They were going, they were working hard, Firehouse, and we were just, we wanted to do. I guess we were young enough when the shit hit the fan for us that we thought, we were still very much full of piss and vinegar as we still are today. But we were like, we could maybe do something else. We weren't convinced that the demand was overwhelming for us, even though we could still go out and play. So we just wanted to do something different for a couple of years. And then finally, like, let's just give it a shot. Let's play some shows to see how it feels. And it turned out really good.
Mm. And there's almost been I feel like there's been a bit of a resurgence nowadays with the bands back in the 80s and early 90s. I mean, look at Australia. Us fans have been asking for many bands like Firehouse and all those bands to come down. And I mean, a lot of people in the comments wanted Trixter. Now you guys are finally coming down, and Steve Rochelle's coming down for the second time, and Lorraine Lewis for the first time. So do you think overall in the world there is a bit of a resurgence for this music to come back?
I hope so. I mean, I don't know for a fact, but I mean, again, I'll be able to answer that after our trip, seeing how our trip goes. Like I said, my only experience there was with Fozzy, and so a totally different genre, and that was great. So I know rock lives in Australia. That's for sure. Hopefully it lives for this genre too.
When you look back now, back to your first record, the debut one, what does it mean to you? And is there anything you reflect on that you're like, oh, we should have changed this to make this better?
I mean, we were so young when we were just so happy with everything and anything. um, you know, I don't spend much time going, oh, we should have done this, we should have done that. It's really pointless. Um, I'm just grateful that because of it, we're still here today, able to do it. So no regrets.
That's awesome. And, I wanted to bring up this earlier at the start of the interview. You've got many projects in your solo project. You've got a lot of things going on. How do you find the time to do all these amazing things that you do? You just constantly do music.
Yeah, that's all I do. And I don't know, it keeps me on my toes. I love challenging myself and playing with different people, playing with in different genres. It's kind of a personal thing. I like to push myself and challenge myself, and so yeah, I could do that. I could do that too. I could do that. And put myself to the test, so to speak. And it keeps it exciting. I do miss that being hyper focused in one band. That that bubble of being all in for one thing and one thing only. But nowadays, you just can't. It's impossible. You cannot do it. Um, we weren't big enough to just maintain one band, so it made us do other things. And so I'm lucky enough to where I do get calls for really cool things. So I'm happy and proud of it, and it's kept me kind of relevant. And so you just make the time. I've I've sacrificed doing anything else but playing music. So that's basically all I do.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And you mentioned you got to do other things, like Steve's doing his bringing out his new Bon Jovi tribute band.
Yeah.
Were you interested in doing that? Did he ask you to do that?
No, no. I mean, I think he knows I'm in enough bands. I'm getting that question a lot. How come you're not on the Bon Jovi thing? I'm like, I'm literally in 5 national touring acts. I'm like, how many more bands should I be in? And me and him, we do enough together. So at some point we're going to be off doing other things separate from each other, and we always support each other no matter what we're doing. So it's I'm, not to say at some point I might have to help out in some way, shape, or form. I was just like Tokyo Motor Fist. I had to jump in for a couple shows there, So I'll always be there for him, just like he's always there for me. And if time ever comes where I got to help out, I'm always willing and able. But no, I mean I like to keep it at a handful at this point.
Yeah. I mean, you two have got that great bond. One helps the other and vice versa. What keeps you going after decades of touring, like constant flying and shows, late night shows, travel the next day? What keeps you going?
Well, it's the fact that I've been doing it all my life. It's really part of my life. It's I know this split kind of life. I have my home life and the part of me that calls to be out on the road. I've been doing it since I'm a teenager. So like I love being home, but when I'm home, I know I'm going out soon, so I need to do that. It's in my blood, it's in my DNA, so that's what kind of makes it easy. I mean, if I hated it, it would really suck. But it's what I love to do, and it makes it easy.
What's the difference from touring in the early 90s with Trixter to now? Is there any differences?
I mean, so many. I mean, I don't know how people with families toured back in the day. When you have to pull the tour bus over to find a payphone just to say hello.
Oh, wow.
Once a day, once a day, maybe twice a day. But now being able to just ride in your bunk and talk on the phone or FaceTime your children, and I mean, again, when I was on a tour bus without a cell phone, it was no problem because I was a kid. I was with all my friends anyway. I was like, let's go. I can do this forever. I didn't have a family waiting for me back home, really, that, I had to check in with all the time, and, I can make those phone calls to home and be done with it. But nowadays, as a parent and a husband and stuff, you get to see and talk to your family whenever you want. So it makes it a hell of a lot easier, a lot more tolerable. And touring is a lot different these days in the sense that you don't go out for those year-long tours anymore. You go out for maybe a month at a time, and that's extended. For me, in all the bands I'm in, I'm going out for maybe 3 weeks at a pop, and that's once or twice a year. The rest are like weekends or long weekends, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, 2 or 3 times a year. But we're not doing those 6 month tours, week off, and then 2 month tours right after it. It's not grueling anymore. It's you get home more often.
Yeah, like you said, you don't do those year-long tours, and then after the tour, you record an album that takes how many long, and then once you get that album out, you're back on the road again. So
the cycle, that wheel of tour for a year and a half, then go right in the studio, and then go back on tour. It's like it doesn't really exist anymore. You have a little bit more leniency, especially for like a band like Trixter, where we can really write our own schedule at this point.
Now, I wanted to talk about something that happened last year. I believe you were in some charity work, Rock for Hope.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about that because I was involved. I did some of the social side of it. What did that mean for you, like doing that charity work?
Well, I mean, it's a great story. It's a great cause. I mean, and it's something you don't really hear that often. Just helping kind of, hearing somebody's story randomly and choosing to help that person, you know. So, I mean, you do cancer benefits all the time and stuff like that, but this was kind of a different kind of cause. And anytime you get the opportunity to do something for a good cause, it always feels good because we're always so busy. Just, as musicians, we're trying to put food on our own tables and stuff. It's good to know that sometimes we get to do what we love to do, but also help someone else.
And even not just the charities, you just touring or releasing music that helps people as well with their well-being.
Yeah, I mean, music saves lives, like
Exactly.
like the saying goes. So I mean, obviously, as you know, being in a band and being a songwriter, you don't think, oh, I'm gonna go write some songs and save some lives now. We do it because we have to do it first and foremost, and we hope that it connects with somebody to the point to where it really makes them feel something, and then in that respect, it's beneficial. And some people tell me, your band's music, saved my life, and that doesn't quite land. I mean, you hear it, but like you think about it, like wow, it's pretty intense.
It's pretty like
It's
deep.
pretty,
Yeah.
yeah.
And also, speaking with connecting with fans, I saw in a previous interview that I was watching, you were talking about maybe a Trickster documentary, something along the lines of that.
Yeah, well, not so much a Trickster documentary, but there's something in the works that a friend of ours is doing. Is kind of just based more along the lines of Steve and I's story. You have two guys playing music together basically all of our lives, and in all the things that we've done. So it's not a Trickster documentary.
Okay.
Trickster's a part of it because it's a big part of our lives.
Yeah.
But it's more part of the two of us.
Yeah, personal documentary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's about our personal, the individual things that we do and the connection that we have and still do together. So it's much broader than just a Trickster thing.
Okay. When can we see that be released? Do you know?
Still in its very infinite stages. It's it'll take a while.
Okay. And what's next for Trickster? Is there a new album coming out possibly?
Yeah, I mean, we have a shit ton of songs written already, and just trying to line up some time to get it together and come up with kind of a game plan, decide how we want to release it, if we want to work with a label, um, if there are any out there, and or just kind of go rogue and do it ourselves. But yeah, it's just about putting the game plan together. There's really no urgency to do it, so there's no rush to put it out. But there's definitely something brewing. That's for sure.
And what's the difference? I know we talked about just before, like the difference between touring back then to now. What's the difference between recording songs and playing songs from then to now? I know I've heard from an interview, another one, that you like to go to an actual studio instead of doing it at home.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I can sit right here and record whatever I want and just send files through, file sharing websites and stuff like that. So I mean, the days of having to relocate for 3 months to go lock yourself in a studio that you're overpaying for doesn't exist anymore. And so that's it's a blessing and a curse because there was a beauty to that. Because when you go in the studio, you're focused, just in your pocket, and there was a beauty to that because you feel like you just went through something. Where it's a little less taxing nowadays. Just being able to go, oh yeah, I got to cut some bass tracks. All right, let me pull out my Pro Tools rig, and I can do it in a hotel room or on a tour bus or right here in my office studio. And so that makes it a lot easier and convenient and a lot cheaper.
How did you guys get all the money to record that first album specifically? Because I know you went down to the site. Was it Tower? No. What was the place you recorded at for the first record?
We were in LA.
Yeah.
We did it in a bunch of studios. We did a bunch of studios in LA. We recorded in New York, and MCA Records. Those were the days of the big major labels, and they were just writing checks. So I mean, there was money to be spent. That was back in the day. We got signed at a good time. A little bit late, but a time where there was money to be had, money to be spent, and money to be made too. So it was back in those times where you got a big fat record deal and you went and spent a lot of money to make records. Now, like I said, records don't cost that much to make anymore. Therefore, there's not much money coming in from a record label. They're like, you know what, you guys make the record, put it out, sell it, and then, create the story, do all the work, build your social media, and then maybe we'll kind of upstream you or some sort of, horse shit like that.
When did you get that first inkling that you were going to get signed by like a big record label back in the day, like MCA Records?
Pretty soon after I joined the band, where the band was just bubbling. We were young, and again, it was back at a time where labels were signing bands. We checked off all the boxes, and we were drawing good crowds, and it was just back in the day where we had good people working with us. So it was just a magical time, man. It was like the dream existed.
I could imagine. I'm very jealous.
Yeah.
I'm very jealous of that time. But like I said, hopefully we get some of that when you guys come down here.
Well, the spirit of it, that's for sure.
Exactly. The 1989, spirit of 1989. Before we wrap this up, I've got some fan questions. I did a story the other day and I got some fan questions. So do you mind if I ask those?
Sure.
So I just wrote them down on here. Going into the Hear album, did you feel more confident as a band recording?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, after touring, like we did on that first cycle, you just come out, you're just such a better band. I mean, uh, I think every band will say that after your first real year and a half of touring, you come out a well-oiled machine. So we were feeling pretty good.
Are there any songs from that album that would have been bigger than others, you thought, personally?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that we thought that record was really great and just came out at a really bad time. Uh, you know, uh, Power of Love was a great song. As the Candle Burns was a great song. Um, Road of a Thousand Dreams, Rockin' Horse, all of them. I mean, there's so many great songs on that record. It just didn't stand a chance.
Do you reckon maybe 2 or 3 years earlier, if that record came out, you would have done more stadium shows like, your Cruise did and your Skid Rows and Cinderellas?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if everyone says, "Oh, if you guys came out a couple of years earlier," yeah, if we came out a couple of years earlier, we would have had, more tours under our belt, and you know, just a couple more years of good times. But we were young, so I mean, how much younger could we have been?
Well, musically, what is the best and worst decision of your life, musically?
What's that?
What is the best and worst decision of your life, musically?
Oh God, I mean,
These are tough questions.
yeah. I don't think I have a worse decision of my life when it comes to music. I mean, I don't have anything like that where I made bad decisions. I think, I mean, I guess you always just wish that you were, you know, you always hope to be better and get better, and you always want to do your best. So, I mean, I'm always trying for that, but there's been no conscious effort to, you know, make bad decisions. um, and musically, I think my best decision is to, really just kind of say yes to a lot of stuff. Hence all the things that I do. I always try to, say yes because it keeps me moving forward.
And this is the perfect one for the next question. What are your goals for 2026 to keep you going?
Well, write some really good songs. Hopefully get to some different countries. And just kind of really, now that we've kind of Trixter has resurfaced a little bit differently. It's got a kind of a different face on it now with, Steve and I singing and confronting the band. We've kind of reintroduced the band as it is. So we're just kind of looking forward to, you know, building that as we are now. And we laid a lot of good groundwork over the last 2 years, kind of letting people know what we are now, and you know, I think we're doing a pretty good job at it. But it's like for me personally, it's always a work in progress because um, for so many years I was just a bass player and singing background vocals, and now I'm singing lead on a bunch of songs, and it's we're sharing lead vocal duties, and you always want to be the best that you can. So vocally, I just want to keep getting better, and from a playing standpoint as well. So always just pushing myself.
And actually, you originally you were doing drumming, if I'm not.
When I first started as a kid, yeah, I was
Yeah.
drumming. Um, I always say it's my first love. I'm a frustrated drummer. Frustrated because I always want to play, but I never do.
And then how did you get into the bass?
Tried to start a band with some kids at school, and everybody wanted to be a drummer, a guitar player, and a singer. Nobody wanted to play bass. So I'm like, all right, sure, I'll be the bass player. Do we have a band now? So I started playing bass out of necessity. It's a good decision.
An awesome decision. And finally, before we wrap this up, for someone who's never seen a Trixter show before, what should they expect?
A good time. Be prepared to have fun, to laugh, because we don't take ourselves seriously. And, you know, the chemistry that Steve and I have is it's kind of that of an old married couple, but a couple of guys who are really appreciative and really happy to be there. And we're not phoning anything in. It's organic, it's energetic, and it's all positive. It really is. And it's we show our appreciation and we leave it out there.
Well, man, thank you so much for your time. Is there any message you want to say to the Aussie listeners that are going to be coming to your show?
I hope you come out and see us and make us look good, and have us come back. So
100%.
let's not make us come all the way out there for nothing. So
Yeah.
show up, tell your friends, come on out, buy a ticket, buy a T-shirt, support all the bands, and we're gonna show you what you've been missing all this time.